Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Life Work Balance YouTube channel, and I'm also live on Twitch. I am excited to talk about how to use ChatGPT to really streamline your job search process. So, while I'm talking through how you can use ChatGPT to streamline your job search, please feel free to add to the chat, and I will hopefully be able to catch it and answer any questions you might have about ChatGPT and your job search, as well as any general job search questions that you might have. So when it comes to ChatGPT, this is a really robust system that you can use to streamline updating your documents like your resume, your cover letters. You can use ChatGPT to update your LinkedIn profile, help you write thank you notes for after your interviews, etc. So ChatGPT is a great option to help you really work smarter, not harder. However, the biggest caveat that I want to remind everyone when it comes to using ChatGPT is this is really just a draft. You should always make sure that if you're going to be using an AI program like ChatGPT or any others, that you review what it puts out for you to ensure that the information is accurate. You also want to look at it as a first draft. So whenever I use ChatGPT for my resumes, my cover letters, any documents that I'm putting together, I always make sure that I read through it and that I edit it to make sure that it sounds like me rather than an AI program. So if you're going to use ChatGPT, have that be your number one thing that you consider is that it's not your final product, it's just your first draft. So I've got a couple of notes that I want to kind of walk through when it comes to using ChatGPT for your job search. And the very first thing is that you can use it to update your resume. Now, if you have been following me on YouTube at all, you probably have heard me talk about master resumes versus tailored resumes. And so I want to make kind of a difference between these two documents. For your master resume is a document that is kind of the entire history of your professional career. This also includes your education. So your master resume will likely be several pages long. It will be at least 2 pages, I imagine, if not more than that. You'll have all of your education on there, probably dating back to high school. You probably don't need to go any earlier than that. You can have all of your relevant classes, all of the projects that you've worked on. You can have all of your work experience. You can have a bajillion bullet points associated with each of those work experience sections. You can have skills. You can have your biography if you want on there. You can have affiliation, so those personal or professional affiliations. You can have hobbies, etc. But you don't necessarily include all of those things on your tailored resume. Those are things you include on your master resume. I see my master resume as something that's really for my eyes only. And a tailored resume is something that will be sent to the job person, whether it's a recruiter, a hiring manager, etc. So when it comes to master resume versus tailored resume, you can use ChatGPT to create that master resume update if you are looking to move to a new job. So you can have it analyze your current job description. You can have it analyze similar job descriptions for other companies or other roles in your company. And you can have it put together a large job description, so to speak, for your master resume. Then you can also use it to update or create a tailored resume. Your tailored resume is the document that you'll be using to apply to jobs. So you will not use your master resume to apply to jobs because it likely has a lot of unnecessary, irrelevant information on this document that the recruiter or the hiring manager doesn't need to know for this job that you're applying to. So you can take your master resume and you can paste it into ChatGPT and you can ask ChatGPT to narrow each job description that you have on your resume down to 5 bullet points that are relevant to the job that you are applying to. And you can also include the job posting in that prompt for ChatGPT. So you want to talk to ChatGPT as if it's another person. You don't want to, just put in your resume and then put in your job description or job posting and have it assume what it's supposed to do. So you want to talk to it like it's another person. So you would say, I am applying to be this type of role. Below, I've pasted my master resume as well as the job posting. Can you help me narrow down my master resume to 5 relevant bullet points per experience section that I have so that it's relevant to the job that I'm applying to? And that will be a great way to help you get a draft tailored resume. Like I mentioned earlier, your tailored resume is a significantly cut down, shorter version of your master resume. It's likely 1, maybe 2 pages long compared to your master resume, which could be 5, 10, etc. pages long. So you can have it help you kind of create a tailored resume if you don't already have one of those. And then you can also have it help you analyze your resume to job postings. So if I were to want to apply to a specific job and I wanted to compare my skills and background and experience to the job that I'm applying to, then I can go ahead and paste that into ChatGPT and ask it to make that analysis for me. I can ask it to show me my strengths. I can ask it to show me my weaknesses, where I might have some gaps, where there might be some concerns from the people who have posted the job that I would like to fill. So those are a couple of ways that you can use ChatGPT to help you actually start the application process. So I see that there's a couple people in the chat already who have posted some things from YouTube specifically. One of the questions that came through, Mohib, hello, how to use new tools to network with recruiters and build steps to get called on for interviews. So that's a good question. You can actually use ChatGPT to help you kind of network and connect with with recruiters as well as interviewers. You do have to do some legwork on your own to identify who those people might be. LinkedIn is probably one of the most popular places to find recruiters. The other thing that you could do is maybe a recruiter is actually listed on the job posting, and you can use ChatGPT to help you draft emails or direct messages to those recruiters to start to build some of those relationships. Now, a recruiter they have been hired, or their job is to fill a position. So they are looking for people who are going to be a good fit for the role. Now, you don't just want to ask the recruiter to get you hired. You want to make sure that you're able to reach out to them and provide them with some value when it comes to your actual application and the skills that you are using or that you would like to use for the job. So I might take my resume, I might take the job posting, ask it to analyze it, and put together a short, maybe 100 character LinkedIn connection message to a recruiter and see what it generates. It might be able to generate just a really quick, simple message to the recruiter where it touches on how my skills overlap with the job that they would like me to apply to, and go on from there. So when it comes to other communication with your recruiter, this might be a follow-up email to check the status. That's great. You can use ChatGPT for that. You might send them a follow-up thank you email. Those are all ways that you can use ChatGPT to help you connect with and essentially network with recruiters. Now, if you don't have a specific job that you would like to apply to, but you know a recruiter who's in Amazon or Google or a large company that you would like to work with, then you can also kind of have just more of an open-ended message to them saying, hey, here's who I am, here's what I do. If you're looking for someone who might fit this type of role, please let me know. And you can use ChatGPT to help you craft those types of responses or messages as well. Okay, so can you save this live as a video? I have an interview coming up. I'd really appreciate it if you could. Yes, this will be saved as a video on my YouTube channel, and then it also will be saved to Twitch as well. And I'm multi-streaming to both platforms. I used to stream pretty regularly to Twitch. I took a break from that just because I didn't get a lot of, interaction and viewership from that. And it was also kind of late at night. So I've been able to figure out through Restream, which is the platform that I'm using, how I can stream simultaneously to both. So yes, this will be saved as a video so that you can refer back to it. And good luck on your interview. Okay, so you can use ChatGPT to help you update some of your documents. You can also use ChatGPT to help you create documents if you don't have them already. So one of the documents that I would highly recommend using ChatGPT to craft just from the get-go, if you don't already have one, is a cover letter. Now, most people groan internally when they hear that you should be submitting a cover letter. And if you were to ask recruiters and hiring managers and people in the hiring world how they feel about cover letters, you'll likely get different responses from them. I am of the mindset that a cover letter will help set you apart from all of the other applicants. So you should always, always, always submit a cover letter, even though it does take some additional effort on your part to craft that document or that message. So when I think about my experience as a recruiter, I would look at a resume, and if the resume was intriguing to me, if it looked like the person was going to be a good fit, I would always then look to see if they had submitted or uploaded a cover letter. If they did upload a cover letter, then I would look at it. Now, I could certainly tell the difference between people who were putting in some effort to their cover letters and those who were creating very generic cover letters. You do not want to create a generic cover letter. So you can get around this effort. You can make it, a little easier for yourself by using ChatGPT to craft a very specific cover letter for the job that you're applying to. Now, I have a couple of videos on my YouTube channel about how to write a cover letter. I can go ahead and share that in the chat or in the comments after this gets posted if you're interested in watching that, or you can search for it right now. I would highly recommend watching that if you haven't already. But I have this kind of layout that I like to use with my cover letter where it tells a story about who I am, because your resume is really just a quick overview of the skills, the background, the education, the experience, etc., that you have that will make you a good fit for the position, and the relevant background that you have that's relevant to the position that you're applying to. Now, if you are applying to a job and you're then going to have this cover letter, then the recruiter wants to know more. So the resume kind of opens the door, and the cover letter tells them more about you in a more story-like, humanistic way. So you want your cover letter to tell a story. If you aren't the kind of creative person to just quickly put one of these together, creating a story about your background and how it relates to a job can be really difficult. So using ChatGPT is a great option. So I like to use, when it comes to my outline for a cover letter, kind of an introduction statement where I mention what position I'm applying to, and then I like to butter up the reader and make them feel good about why I want to work there and why I think I'm going to be a good fit, how that might differentiate me. I might mention the mission, vision, or values that I've read on the website. I might mention how I have a unique connection to this role or this team or this organization. And then I go into the body of my cover letter. And the body of your cover letter is really where you explain how your experience and your background, your education, etc., matches to the job that you're applying to. So then you can go into from the body to the closing. And this is where you're pretty direct about asking for an interview. You say that I'm available. I can make myself available for an interview. If I don't hear from you in X number of days or in 2 weeks, then I'll follow up with you directly if you have someone's email. So you can be a little bit more straightforward about what you expect next steps to look like. So you can kind of keep that ball in your court. You can keep the responsibility with you. But if you're not quite sure how to even start when it goes to drafting that intro, the body, or even the closing portion of your cover letter, you can use ChatGPT to do just this. So I like to describe what each of those different sections mean. So, hello, please write me a cover letter that describes my experience in these 3 different sections using the information below. And I'll paste my resume, I'll paste the job posting, and then I might paste some additional information that I got from the website, from the company. This could be their mission, their vision, their values, their about us. Maybe it's that little summary section at the top or at the bottom of their job posting that describes a little bit more about their company. And I'll ask ChatGPT to have it in intro format where I, make a connection between my experience and my passions or my vision or values to the companies. Then go into the body where we can relate my experience and background to the job posting. And then the closing, where I reiterate my enthusiasm for the position, thank them for considering my application, and then also be a little bit more forward about what next steps could look like. So yes, cover letters can be hard, they can be disheartening, and sometimes it's easier just not to do it. But when you have programs like ChatGPT that can really write your first draft for you, it makes the process much easier. So ChatGPT is a great resource to use to write your cover letters. If you aren't currently writing cover letters, or your cover letters are all the same, where it's to whom it may concern, I'm writing to apply for this position. Thank you for your consideration. Sincerely, your name. Don't do that. Instead, use ChatGPT, make it personal, have it tell a story about who you are and your experience so that really relates to your background and how you're going to be a great fit for this role that you're applying to. So those are some ways that it can help you with the application materials, your resume, your cover letters, things like that. If you have supplemental questions as a part of the application, there was a time when there were lots of questions as a part of the application process that you may have to type and submit your answers to. And so you could even use ChatGPT to help you answer those questions. Now, some of them might be a little bit more philosophical, like what's your leadership style or how might you handle this type of situation. But you can paste those types of questions into ChatGPT. You can have the job posting and your resume, your cover letter, or other documents you might want to include. Paste that all into ChatGPT and ask it to generate a, 200-word response or a 50-word response to that question based off of the information provided. And it can help you generate those at least draft responses to those questions. Now, I had mentioned earlier that you should always use ChatGPT as just a first or rough draft. So when it comes to reviewing what it said, you want to make sure that you pay pretty close attention to the words that it's using, because I've seen how teachers are trying to incorporate language into their prompts for students to identify if students are using AI to write their papers and assignments for school, and how they can then catch students doing that who are not putting in the effort. So you don't want to get tricked by whatever job platform you're using, because there are people out there, both with schools as teachers as well as with employers, who don't want you to necessarily rely on AI to answer questions, whether this is answering interview questions in the moment or answering some of those supplemental questions on the actual application. So for example, with schools, teachers might put in white text kind of hidden in the prompt or the assignment that they're giving students to say a specific word. The word that I had read about was Frankenstein. And so the prompt had nothing to do with Frankenstein, but if the word Frankenstein was used by the student, then the teacher knew that the student used AI, because maybe there was a sentence hidden in white or in really small text that said, use the word Frankenstein once throughout your paper or whatever that was. And so the teacher would then search for the word Frankenstein. If it was present in the paper, then the teacher would fail the student because the student had used AI to generate this document. But if Frankenstein wasn't present, then the teacher would, assume that the student had not used AI. So you'll want to make sure that you read through the responses that it generates for you, the documents that it generates for you, so that it is not creating random words or random sentences that don't seem to fit your experience or the job posting or things like that, because that might be a way that employers are trying to filter people who might be using AI versus people who might be crafting these things 100% on their own. So keep an eye out for those things. If you're going to be pasting it into ChatGPT, look to see if additional text has been added that you didn't read when you were initially looking through the job posting. Then make sure you actually read through what it generates for you so that you ensure that it actually makes sense and isn't, listing crazy words or sentences that just seem out of the blue and unrelated to what you are actually putting in the document or the answers to these supplemental questions. So it can help you answer those supplemental questions. And then when it comes to using AI to help you actually prepare for the interview, let's say that you've gotten through the application process. You've been shortlisted, you've been scheduled for a phone interview or scheduled for an in-person interview. How can you use programs like ChatGPT to help you prepare for this interview? And this is actually one of my favorite ways to use ChatGPT. So you can take the job posting and you can say, based on the job that I'm applying to, posted below, please generate 10 behavior-based questions or situation-based questions and 10 technical or job-specific questions. And then just see what it creates. Some of the questions may make a lot of sense. Others might be a little bit out there. Again, this is just to be used to help you prepare for this interview. But this is actually what I do when I help people do mock interviews, is I will take their resume, I will take the job posting, and I will put it into ChatGPT very first thing and ask it to generate me, at least 20 questions that I can use during a mock interview. And this is helpful for me because I'm not an expert on every single job that comes out there. However, I do feel like I have the skills to help people prepare for interviews. So when I'm doing mock interviews, I may not have all of the background and I may not have all of the skills or even the knowledge of the words and the things that are done in a specific job, but ChatGPT can help me generate questions that would actually be asked during an interview to help my clients prepare for their interviews. So use this as a way to kind of prepare yourself for an interview. You can ask it to generate, just general behavior-based questions, situation-based questions, or it can get very specific based off of the job posting that you post or paste into the prompt. So that is one of my most favorite things to use ChatGPT for, is actually preparing for the interview. You can also have it help you answer very common questions that can come up during the interview, like tell me about yourself. So if you've watched any of my videos on YouTube about how to answer this question, tell me about yourself, then ChatGPT is a great resource to help you start to craft your own response to that. So I like to use this format of present, past, future to answer the question, tell me about yourself. This can be somewhat confusing to people, especially if they're unemployed. And so you can use ChatGPT to help you generate your just draft response of this. Again, if you're going to have it draft some ideas or content for you to use in your answers to interview questions, do not read it word for word during your interview. You'll want to use it as a way to create bullet points or a general outline to help you answer some of these common questions. So when you're asked the question, tell me about yourself, and you blank, instead, hopefully you've done some research ahead of time. You've used ChatGPT, you've put in your resume, you've put in the job posting, you've even described the layout that you want it to share with. So I will put in ChatGPT, please generate a answer to the question, tell me about yourself, using the following layout. Present, describing what I'm currently doing in the present. Past, describing how my past experience and education relates to this specific job. And future, how I can use my skills to help bring value to this organization in the future. By putting all of that into the prompts, you're giving ChatGPT enough information to at least get you a rough draft of a response to that type of question. So I highly recommend, if you haven't tried that yet, see what it generates for you. Now, kind of backing up, using ChatGPT as your only kind of help to create some of these things might not get you too far, because it is still artificial intelligence. It's not human. So it doesn't have this super creative human touch to it. So you want to make sure that you test your answers to some of these questions that you're putting in with the people who know you well, with people who know what you're looking for, who know what sorts of things that you like to do, who know your personality, and see if it sounds like you and if it feels accurate. Don't just take what ChatGPT generates for you and just assume that it's going to be accurate and correct, or that it's really going to resonate. So the constant reminder is that you always want to use this just as a first draft, never as something that is the final product. All right, so I see a couple of other chats that have come through. I want to just scroll up there and see if there's anything that I have missed. It doesn't look like there are any other comments that I've missed. If you do have general questions about job searching or interviewing, please put them in the chat. I'd be happy to answer those kind of as we go through this. The other way that you can use ChatGPT, once you've finished prepping for your interview, you've likely then done your interview. Hopefully everything goes well. I highly, highly recommend that after every interview, you send a follow-up thank you message. Again, I have videos on this topic, and I even have some templates that you can use, but you can use ChatGPT to help you generate your first draft to a thank you email. Now, I recommend, if you have the ability to do so, that you send these thank you emails or thank you follow-ups to every person that you interviewed with and include your recruiter. So you want to make sure that if this was just an interview with your recruiter, you just need to send it to the recruiter. But if this was an interview with the hiring manager that the recruiter kind of did the first screening and then sent you through, then you want to send the thank you message to the recruiter and a different thank you message to the actual person who interviewed you. So you always want to follow up and leave them with that last positive impression of you after your interview. Even if you feel like it didn't go well, sending a follow-up email is a great way to clarify anything or add any final information that you feel like you didn't include during your interview, or make a comment on something that the interviewer said that really resonated with you. So it's a great way to have one final positive touch with someone who's responsible for making a decision as a part of the interview process. And ChatGPT can help you at least draft that first note. You can also use ChatGPT before your interview to kind of prep those thank yous, but you'll want to make sure that you read through it one more time before you hit send, and that you're looking to make sure that it makes sense, that it touches on what you want it to touch on, and that it's a great way to kind of, again, put a nice little bow and follow up with that positive touch after your interview. So those are ways that it can help you when it comes to drafting your resume, cover letters, preparing for your interview, as well as drafting those responses after your interview for thank yous. You can also have it draft emails for you that can help you with salary negotiation. You can have it draft emails for you if you get a rejection. If you are rejected from a job, which likely will happen, very rarely will you apply and get the very first job that you apply to, especially if you're kind of applying to a bunch of jobs simultaneously. In some cases, if you're being very strategic and intentional about the jobs that you're applying to, you might only need to apply to one. But in many cases, we will all experience rejection in some way, shape, or form. And following up with that rejection, asking for advice, feedback, and also thanking them for the experience as a whole is a great way to, again, have that positive impression, even though you didn't get the job. So you don't want to burn bridges, especially if those bridges can help you as an opportunity in the future. Now, when it comes to, I guess, burning those bridges and not responding after receiving a rejection, I have some personal experience with this. So I was working as, a recruiter and hiring manager for a company, and we wanted to hire someone. At the same time, she was also in the interview process with someone else and told us that she was, waiting for the interview process to finish with this, and that she wanted to kind of see what happened. That told us that we were not her first choice. So we continued interviewing, and we ended up finding someone that we wanted to hire instead. So we had offered it to this person and let them know that, while we've offered it to you, we're going to continue our job search. And if we find someone who is a better fit, or find someone who is able to start sooner than you, we're going to move forward with them. That's what ended up happening. We did our interviews. We found someone who was a better fit. We found someone who was ready to begin much sooner. And then we ended up rescinding our, offer to the original person because she took too long to get back to us. And then she didn't respond. Then let's just say, hypothetically, that the person that we ended up offering the job to, although they took it, let's say something fell through and it didn't end up working out. Had the candidate that we had originally contacted responded to that email and said, gosh, I'm so sorry that I missed out on this opportunity. I really appreciate you trying to keep me in the loop and considering me, etc. We may have even gone back to her and said, guess what? This position is back open. We would love to bring you on. But due to the lack of response, due to the lack of follow-up, we chose not to do that. So, and that didn't end up happening because the person that we ended up offering it to and accepting it worked out great. But if something had fallen through, we would not have gone back to that first candidate. So you want to make sure that you keep all of your options open. You don't want to burn bridges, even unintentionally, by not following up with a simple thank you email or notice of response. So ChatGPT can help you generate those types of emails. If you're disappointed, if you feel let down, if you're frustrated, it can really help get just like a kind of a blank slate, help you start fresh to create or generate some of these different types of emails, letters, etc. I'm going to be posting a video in a couple of weeks on the topic of giving your notice. So ChatGPT can also help you generate your resignation letter if you're getting to the point where you're ready to quit your job. So if you're in the process of job searching, you might also be employed. And so you'll need to give your resignation at some point to accept that new job. So you might need to use ChatGPT to help you generate a resignation letter that is very professional while also somewhat friendly and cordial. And ChatGPT is a great way to use tone and language, and you can ask it to make the letters or the documents longer or shorter. You can ask it to change its tone, etc. So ChatGPT can be used really at any stage of the job search process for many different areas. So if you're still watching, what sorts of things do you think you could use ChatGPT for, or that you would like to use it for, but you haven't used it before? That would be great for me to know, because I might be able to give you some additional ideas or insight on how you could use ChatGPT for your own job search. The other thing to note is you can use ChatGPT to help you while you are employed to accomplish certain things. You could take your job description that you've applied to and you can paste it into ChatGPT and you can ask it to generate performance goals for you. Based on the job posting, based on your job description, what are 3 performance goals that it recognizes or that might be important for you to achieve in the next year, in the next quarter, whatever the performance timeline might be for your specific job. You can have it generate performance goals for you, or at least ideas of performance goals based off of the job description. You can have it help you generate email responses in, general, office or administrative emailing back and forth. There's many different ways that you could use ChatGPT. I even watched a video of a person who had connected ChatGPT to his Gmail, I believe. Now, I haven't done this, so I'm not saying that you should do this necessarily, but this is a way you get a lot of emails. It then was able to learn his response style, the way that he uses language, etc. And it was able to generate just draft responses to emails that he would then go in at the end of the day, read them, make some slight tweaks, and then send. So it was able to create draft email responses to many different emails that he received throughout the day, so that he wasn't spending his time in email. And it's probably a Gmail plugin that you could use with ChatGPT. Again, I haven't used that before, but there's many ways that you might be able to use ChatGPT. I also know that ChatGPT just puts a disclaimer that you want to fact check it. Make sure that you're not relying on it completely for all of your information. It could even plagiarize some information. I don't know if it would plagiarize directly, but it could pull concepts and ideas that are already out there and duplicate it. And so you want to make sure that it isn't plagiarizing anything. And then you also want to make sure that if you're using it as a part of your organization, that the cybersecurity policies are in place to ensure that things are that you're using it in a safe way, so that you're not using it in a way that violates your organization's policies or anything like that. But if you use it on your personal Gmail, things like that, then it's totally up to you to make those choices. So I'm not seeing any other comments come through, but ChatGPT is a great option to be able to use when it comes to your job search, as well as once you are actually in the job that you've been applying to. It also can help you when you're towards the end of that job that you're maybe transitioning out of. It could help you create a succession plan or a transition plan. There are many other things that come up when it comes to using ChatGPT that can apply to your job search, your professional way of being in the organization. Hi, nice to see you too, Asaya. See a couple of other comments come through. This is just really a general overview about how to use ChatGPT. I highly, highly recommend giving it a shot, trying it out. You can use the free version. You can upgrade if you want, but in most cases, the free version should be sufficient for you to use for your job search. You'll be able to use it to help you update your resume, update your cover letters. One thing that I did not mention was you can use it to help you update your LinkedIn profile. So you can have it create the About Me. You can have it help you create the tagline or the headline that you have in LinkedIn. You can have it help you create the different, employment work experience sections. There are many different things that you can use it for. Help you answer the supplemental questions on applications. You can have it help you draft your cover letters. You can have it help you respond to salary negotiation emails from the people that you're negotiating with. It can help you with your resignation letter for your current company when you're ready to actually resign from your position. So there are many ways that you can use ChatGPT for your job search and really your career as a whole. If you're going to be using it as a professional, just ensure that you're using it in a safe way. You're not posting any confidential information on ChatGPT, that you're not posting super personal information that you wouldn't want it to have, that you wouldn't want out on the internet. And make sure that you're following, if you're as a part of an organization, their cybersecurity guidelines, and that ChatGPT is allowed as a part of your organization. So now if you have any general questions about your job search process, about interviewing, about preparing for job search or preparing for interviews, please feel free to put them in the chat. I'd be happy to answer those. And if you do have any specific questions about ChatGPT, I'm happy to answer those too, kind of as they trickle in. If you haven't ever used ChatGPT, there we go, then why not? What's holding you back? Try it out, see what works, see what doesn't work, and you can kind of go from there. You'll get a groove of how you like to interact and chat with the platform. You'll know, based off of what it generates for you, how you can be more specific, what information you can include. But it's really a great way to work smarter, not harder. I've used it in many different capacities. You just want to make sure that you're doing your due diligence to double check to make sure that it's not plagiarizing, that it is not generating things that don't make a lot of sense to the jobs that you're applying to and things like that. Okay, so as I said, I've been applying since for the last 6 months on both Indeed and LinkedIn, but no good luck. So my one question when it comes to applying on LinkedIn and Indeed is, have you ever gone back to the original company and applied directly on their website? There have been times, and let me back up a little bit. Indeed, while companies can submit their job postings and applications directly on Indeed, Indeed also scrapes the internet for job postings to generate traffic to their website. So I've worked for organizations that have not used Indeed formally for job applications or job postings, but we will still find our jobs posted on Indeed. And it's because it has these like internet crawlers that will then scrape the jobs from the original job board and repost it on Indeed. I've also seen scams of my jobs get posted on LinkedIn where I haven't posted them on LinkedIn. So you want to make sure that if you're applying online, my number one tip is to always go back to the original company and try to apply directly on their website. The other thing that you can do is then start the networking process. So if you know who the recruiter is, if you can search the company on LinkedIn and find people who work in that company. Sometimes organizations will have referral bonuses for employees who refer a candidate who ends up getting hired. That's usually what happens. And so you might be able to connect with someone directly on LinkedIn who can then help you kind of get past the first couple of barriers to application. In most cases, companies, if they're using an online platform these days, use an applicant tracking system. And the applicant tracking system is basically a computer that will review your application first before any humans do. And this applicant tracking system can really throw out people's applications for super silly reasons. Like one of the reasons why your application might not be considered could be the format of your resume. So you want to make sure that your resume is in a single column, which looks really boring, but we want to make it as easy for the computer system to read the document as possible. So if it's double columns or if there's tables or any kind of wonky formatting in your resume, then the computer that's initially reviewing that document might not be able to actually generate legible output from it, and it might not understand what you've got in your document. So I would highly recommend that if you're going to be applying online, that you have a very simple, streamlined, and straightforward document that is just like no formatting, no special, nothing. Like you don't want color on it. You don't want hyperlinks on it. You don't want underlining on it. You want it as simple and easy and straightforward to read as possible. And you want it to read like a book from, left to right. And I think on my screen, it might be right to left with my hand going that way. But if you imagine yourself reading a book, you want it to read from one side of the page to the other side of the page, from left to right, top to bottom. You don't want multiple columns or things like that. And I will go to my website really quick. And I have a free master resume template that people can download if you're interested. And I'll put that in the chat really quick. Here we go. I have to for my chapstick. So I put my master resume template in the chat. This is something that I would highly recommend using if you're not getting a lot of responses from applications. Like if you're submitting, and you're not getting any interest, you're not getting any phone interviews, you're not getting any, sometimes they do the virtual interviews where you like interview with a robot, essentially. If you're not getting any in-person interviews, etc., then please go ahead and use the master resume template that I've shared in the chat. Update your resume so that it's in that kind of template format. And you'll then be able to hopefully reformat your resume and see if that helps you at all. Carolina said, please save this live video on your, so we can watch later. Yep, it's saved under my live video, so it will be saved to YouTube once this completes. So if you are applying to jobs online, first, number one, apply on the company's website if it's available. Say I see that you did all of that. That's number one. Apply on the company's website directly if it's available. Sometimes they might use Indeed. They might pay to use Indeed. They might pay to use LinkedIn. But in many cases, they also have a careers page directly on their company website. The other thing about that is that the ATS, the applicant tracking system, will tell the recruiter or tell the hiring manager, whoever is looking at that, where the application came from. And in some cases, they will give higher preference to people who are applying directly on their website than people who are applying through other kind of external sources. And that's just because they're thinking that this person wants to work for us. So they're coming directly to our website and our web page and applying directly through our careers page rather than applying through mass applications on Indeed, LinkedIn, Glassdoor, Monster, ZipRecruiter, etc. So do that first. And then also make sure that your resume is in an easy to follow, easy to understand format for the applicant tracking system. You want your resume to be no more than 1, maybe 2 pages long. So my master resume template is for your master resume, which might be 15 pages long, depending on how much experience you have. Really, you want to cut it down to only the relevant information. So my tip for that is to title each of your headers as fill in the blank. So relevant education, relevant professional experience. I like to title the professional or the work experience section as relevant professional experience, because then you can include unpaid work, internships, volunteer work, etc. All of those things are still expecting you to show up in a professional capacity. It doesn't really matter if you've been paid to do it or not. So relevant professional work, then you can include only what's relevant to the job that you're applying to. You don't need to include other things like skills sections unless you are not going to be describing those skills in your work experience sections. You just don't want duplicative information on there. Do not include like an objective statement or a summary. You really want your resume to be a quick review for someone who's looking at it to determine that you do have the skills and the experience for this specific role. That's where ChatGPT can also be really helpful to help you narrow down what is critical for the job that you're applying to. So I said my experience is around 10 years, so I try to fit everything into pages. And then someone from chat said, what are you doing? This is just chatting. I'm a career coach and I have a YouTube channel where I provide job search and interview tips to people. And so I am chatting about how people can use ChatGPT to really streamline their job search process, and then answering general questions about job search and things like that. So once you have submitted your application, you've done, your 1-page document, 1 to 2 page documents for your for your tailored resume from your master resume, then it's also okay to send an email to someone who you think might be connected to the job. So you could do this through LinkedIn. If you are able to find their email, many times if someone's working for a company, the email domain is relatively easy to figure out. So you could try to identify what their email could be and just email them directly. I worked primarily in public sector, so with government institutions and government, at least in the United States, government emails and things like that are publicly available. So it's relatively easy to find how to contact certain people. So maybe try to identify who could be the the person of contact or who might be able to put you in contact with someone who can make some decisions with this, to just let them know that you applied. You can reattach your resume to that email. You can really express your enthusiasm for the role. When it comes to finding a job, the job seeker's persistence and not giving up on the job search process is really what's going to change the game. So if you are, just submitting applications kind of, willy-nilly, laissez-faire, just quick submit, trying to get it as many out as possible, it's probably not going to help you. If you spend some dedicated time submitting, 3 to 5 high quality applications where you've put in a lot of effort to create a resume, create a tailored cover letter, etc., then that will likely boost your chances because you're putting in more quality effort and work in your applications. So fingers crossed. I know the job search process can feel really long and daunting and disheartening at times, especially when you receive rejection after rejection. And just know that from what I've heard, what I've read when it comes to the, job search environment right now, September and October are going to be huge hiring months, at least in the United States, because organizations kind of braced themselves and reduced hiring efforts earlier in the year because they thought that a recession was coming. And so now they're starting to ramp that back up. And I actually have posted a video at the beginning of, maybe it was the end of last year, where I think that also the end of the year is one of the most popular times for people to get hired. And that's to go through the hiring process and then actually start the job starting in January. So hopefully things are changing this year where people are starting to organizations are starting to increase their hiring efforts so that you have a better chance of actually getting hired with the applications that you're putting in. And yeah, it's exhausting to put in all these applications and to put in all this effort and feel like you're just getting, no reply, reject emails after another constantly. And so the next step is to try to do something beyond just the online applications, try to connect with someone at the company who can be that door to help you get your foot in rather than getting it slammed in your face time and time again. All right, so I had mentioned that I would put a couple of links into the chat. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. I've got my YouTube up right now. I'm going to go ahead and share my playlist that I've got on the videos I've made in the past about how to use ChatGPT for your job search. So if you haven't watched that, please go ahead and watch that next because I kind of break it down in the different stages of the job search process for you to watch, whether it's just thinking about how you might use it in general, how you might use it before you begin your job search, which is updating your documents and things like that, how you can use it when you're starting to apply. So how you can use it to update your resume, how you can use it to update your cover letter, how you can use it to actually prepare for the interview process, which is my favorite way to use ChatGPT. And then also how you can use it kind of once you've been hired. It helps you write your resignation letter, help you negotiate salaries, and then just help you professionally in general. So I've got that on there. And then I've also got a playlist on how you can introduce yourself. So I talked briefly about how you can use ChatGPT to help you answer some very common interview questions like tell me about yourself and things like that. So I'm going to share that in the chat as well so that if you haven't watched those yet, please feel free to do so. And I'm not seeing any other questions come through. And so I am just about at the hour mark. We're about 50 minutes into this live stream. So I think I'm going to start wrapping it up. Unless you have any other specific questions on what you can do to really bolster your job search process, your resumes, your cover letters, prepare for an interview, etc. So I'll give you a moment if any other questions kind of trickle in. And if not, then we'll wrap it up for the day. All right. Well, if you do have any comments, please feel free to post them on this once it, finishes processing and doing what it does. I'm not quite sure what the back end looks like for YouTube when it comes to live processing, but this will be available for people to watch so that they can use it to prepare for their interviews, so they can use it to help them, update their resumes, cover letters, etc. It will be posted on my YouTube channel, and I also believe on the Twitch channel. And if you have questions, comments, you can email me directly if you'd like to set up a session where I can help you prepare for an upcoming interview. I also do application material review sessions where I can review your resume with you for a specific job that you'd like to apply to. There's lots of ways that I can help you when it comes to your job search process. So starting at the beginning with applying to jobs, in the middle when it's actually interviewing for jobs, and even at the end when it comes to salary negotiation, understanding what sorts of things you can negotiate for, things like that. So if you're interested, please let me know. My email is, I'm going to put it in the chat directly. You can email me if you would like to set one of those things up. You can also check out my website, which is lwbalance.com. And you can book sessions with me directly through my website. If you are looking for more one-on-one individualized coaching or support. And if not, I post videos every week on YouTube, so you can check that out regularly. And I've got a lot of free content and resources available for you to hopefully help you through the job search and interview prep process.